He's got us on. Okay. I can find the agenda page. If I don't know what day it is, and I don't know where I am. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Lake Washington School District Board of Directors meeting April 21st, 2014. And good to see people here in our audience. Thank you for being here with us. All board members are present. And I will entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Our agenda is approved, and we have our host school with us this evening.
We do. I'm very
And goodies.
pleased this evening, that Einstein Elementary is here. So I'd like to welcome Principal Melissa Pointer up to the podium, and just make sure you press the buttons so the microphone is on. And just so everyone knows, we have the presentation up on our screens here as well. So we're following along based on what's in front of us, which is also what's up there. So welcome, Melissa. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, thank you for allowing us to be here. It's very exciting to be able to share just a little bit of the amazing things that are happening in our school every day. So the first picture is obviously a picture of our school campus, but I just wanted to share that if you've never been to our campus, I highly recommend you come and visit. It's just a beautiful setting. Some of our actual campus is a certified wildlife habitat, so it's very beautiful, lots of protected wetland and wildlife. I just the other day had to chase a couple of deer off of our soccer field, so it's always an adventure. Einstein opened in the 97-98 school year, but actually in that first year, Redmond Elementary was the school that was on our campus while their school was being rebuilt, and Einstein officially took over occupancy in the 98-99 school year. We are just an incredibly diverse community with 31 languages spoken amongst our student body, and a very large percentage of our population of a Latino background. Almost half of our students are qualifying for either free or reduced price lunches, and a really large percentage of our students are in our English language learner program. We currently have 30% of our students that are actively in ELL, but many more have recently exited, so it's a very large percentage of our student body. We have about 15% of our students in special education, and we have a really qualified, really experienced staff. Over 43 certificated staff members, and 70% of them have their master's degrees or higher, and we are just very proud of them. We have a really active PTSA as well, with 100% teacher membership, which is pretty unique for schools. We've earned that award over the last couple of years, and we have 272 PTSA members, which is a very large number of PTSA members. So I wanted to take a quick moment to recognize so many of our amazing staff members and PTSA members that are here, and to thank our PTSA board for providing refreshments and treats. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the cookies, but they're pretty fancy over there.
Yes, they are.
Through the support of our PTSA, we are able to just provide so many wonderful programs for our students that I'll talk about in just a few minutes. In addition to our PTSA, we're really connected with our larger community, and we have been able, through support of the Lake Washington Schools Foundation and some of their grants and other programs, to be able to provide some great opportunities for parents and students. One of the programs that the foundation has supported over the last few years is our Latino Parent Empowerment Program, and you'll hear a lot more about that on Wednesday at the foundation lunch, where that program is being highlighted. So I'll save some of that information for Wednesday. Through our school counselor and the foundation, we've been able to provide some parenting classes at the transitional housing complex through the HopeLink Center. We found that many of the families that really needed the parent education didn't have the access to transportation, or weren't available during the day to take classes, so our counselor actually meets them right there in the community. And we engage our community through an annual strategic planning meeting, where we invite realtors and builders and parents and all kinds of people that represent our community to come in and do some data analysis and make recommendations for our school improvement plan and our strategic plan. For students, we are connected with the community in the sense that we have 17 lunch buddies, 2 of which are Redmond police officers, which is very exciting on our campus. Whenever they show up for lunch buddies, there's just a buzz. It's very fun. We worked with the City of Redmond to offer tutoring at the trailer park Avonvia, which is just across Avondale, and a lot of our students come from there, so there's after-school tutoring and snacks and all kinds of opportunities through the support of the city. We've got 25 families who are currently receiving pantry packs and over 150 families that receive school clothes through Operation School Bell, so we're very proud and thankful for the support that we have from the community. From a building-wide standpoint, we've established a really great partnership with Overlake Church, and they provide volunteers throughout the year, but specifically they do things like come in August through their Community Serve program and help us get the school open, doing amazing projects like painting and helping teachers set up bulletin boards and all kinds of great things. The Redmond Police Department comes a few times a year to teach kids about community and neighborhood safety. And we've got quite a few family events that I'll talk about in just a few minutes, as well as a lot of Links volunteers that are in our classrooms every day. I won't spend a lot of time talking about academic achievement because I know you have access to a lot of our data, but just some quick highlights that we are really proud of. We made gains in 8 of 10 MSP areas assessed last year, and we're particularly excited about the gains that we saw with science in 5th grade and 3rd grade math. Nationally, about 18% of students exit ELL every year, and consistently we beat that national average, and this most recent year had 23% of our kids exit ELL, and we met our AMAOs and our AMAO in special education math. Although the state has not, or the Board of Education hasn't updated the academic achievement data for this year, if you notice on the bottom right corner, their rating of Einstein in the previous year was very good, and exemplary is the highest, so you can see that there are a lot of areas where they did consider us exemplary as well, which we're very proud of. And finally, we're really excited about our kindergarten intervention program that is in its 2nd year. At the beginning of the year, 75% of the kids in this program were considered well below benchmark through the DIBELS assessment, and just halfway through the year with some really great instruction and extended school day opportunity, 91% of those kids are now at benchmark, which is very exciting. So we've been able to achieve those great results through some really systematic interventions, and that comes in a variety of forms, but one way that we have really provided intervention is by extending the school day and the school year for some of our kids that need it the most. We're currently providing before-school safety net reading to 2nd grade students that qualify for safety net. We provide before-school ELL services for students in 3rd through 5th grade, and we provide after-school safety net math for students that are in 4th and 5th grade. And some of those students are actually coming before school for ELL as well, so they have a very long school day, but we found that they're energized and ready to learn because of the great instruction that's happening in those classes. As I mentioned, we have our kindergarten intervention program in place, and our ELL kindergartners get to come to school 2 weeks before everybody else to kind of learn what it means to be in school. And finally, we extend our school year by offering Title I Summer School. Einstein was the first school to offer Title I Summer School several years ago, and because of the success that we had, now all of the Title I schools are offering that opportunity. During the school day, we support students through a variety of ways. We have both push-in and pull-out safety net math and reading instruction. We do flexible skills grouping in every grade level, which give kids the access to, all kids get their grade level core instruction in reading and math, but then for 20 to 45 minutes every day, students are in flexible skills groups where they're either getting additional support or they're going deeper in the content areas at that grade level. We're providing push-in and pull-out ELL and SPED support during the school day as well. And our general ed teachers are working really hard at differentiating and meeting the needs of all of the kids at the really wide range of levels that we have based on some of the work that we're doing in our data teams, which I will talk about now. So in our building, it's worked out really nicely that as a result of being an emerging school, we have an emerging plan that we provide to the state. And our SIP plan is just really one very small part of our emerging plan, but it's been really nice because our SIP goals that are derived from our PLC and data team meetings are also the goals that we're working on in our PGE student growth goal, and they are our SIP goals as well, so they're all really nested nicely together. Those goals are created based on state and baseline assessment data in the fall, and then they're monitored through this data team process, which I'll really briefly describe. So as teams meet every couple of weeks, they come to the meeting with information in a spreadsheet similar to the one that you see on their screen. And this data is all charted and collected prior to the meeting, and it's data that is from a common assessment chosen by the team. When the team meets, they're deeply analyzing the results of the data, and they're referring to the actual student work that's there in front of them to infer why the students are performing in the ways that they're performing. And then based on the performance at each level, they're prioritizing what does each of these individual groups need, and they're making instructional decisions based on the needs of those different groups. The team then establishes a SMART goal, and then they get really clear about, if we teach in this way that we've decided upon, what are the results or the outcomes that we should expect to see from students. So by analyzing data in this way, we can make really clear judgments about the effectiveness of our instruction and the direction that we need to head with each group. So we're very busy, as you can see. There's a lot going on at Einstein, and in addition to the things that are happening in the district in every building, we're doing several other things for professional development to really prepare our teachers for the wide range of learners that we have. For the past 3 years, we've been working with the University of Washington Center for Ed Leadership to do some really substantial job-embedded professional development around best practice writing instruction. And that has included having direct instruction from a consultant and coaching for individual teachers. So over the last few years, we've had 4 teachers open up their classrooms as lab classrooms, and they've done demonstration lessons along with our coach. And they've had, in some cases, up to 10 teachers and administrators observing those lessons as they're teaching, which is pretty intense. We've also videotaped those lessons, and those videotapes are now available to our own staff as just-in-time PD, and other principals have actually been asking for access to those videos as well, because the effect that the PD is having on student achievement is pretty exciting. Our staff has also been engaged in PLC learning walks, and our district has a new PLC learning walk protocol that we're using for this purpose. So teachers are getting a chance to watch each other teach and give one another feedback, and we're also seeing really great success with that as well. The data team process that I just mentioned is new to us this year as well. We did a lot of PD in the spring and in the fall around the process, and all of our grade level teams are engaged in data team work now. And in the fall, we did some professional development with the Center for Ed Leadership around learning targets, how to effectively write them, and how to engage students in self-assessing around those targets. And we're also doing quite a bit of collaboration between our program teachers and our general ed teachers, helping teachers to learn how to collaborate and plan instruction and analyze student data as well. In addition to that, we're doing the Wonders PD this year too. So all of this PD didn't come out of thin air. We were really intentional about how we chose to do this work. We did a lot of research on best practices for high poverty, high performing schools. We looked at our student data, and including some Center for Ed Effectiveness value add data that we were able to get access to. We considered the Common Core standards, and we did some surveying and auditing as a staff. And through all of that analysis, our building leadership team and eventually our entire staff agreed to this work and has been really committed and working really hard on all of these things, which has taken quite a bit of time. So we've had to be really intentional about how we use our LEAP time, and you can see the different days that we've allocated for those different purposes this year. There's never a dull moment in our building. They're always working very hard, and I'm really proud of all that they've accomplished in light of just everything new this year. So it's really exciting that they've been so committed. We have quite a few academic enrichment opportunities for our students. One of the most successful programs we have right now is our Green Team, which is created by one of our teachers, Michelle Brennan, in 2011. The Green Team has done a lot of things, and I'll just briefly describe a few of them. We have a really well-established recycling program in the cafeteria. The picture on the left teaches kids what kinds of things are recyclable, what's trash, and what's compostable, and they are really diligent about it. If I go in and accidentally put my lid from my juice cup in the wrong thing, they are quick to jump all over me and tell me, no, you can't throw it there. So it's exciting to see them so committed to it. We've also been able to expand that in our staff room, and we're composting and recycling in our staff room as well. And we even have a worm bin where kids are learning about composting and how that all works. The picture on the right is of our habitat I mentioned earlier that has been certified as a wildlife habitat from the National Wildlife Federation. It's now used as an outdoor teaching space, and in the first year of the program, they were able to revitalize the area, planting 43 native species, and this year they're working on developing some instructional materials so that it's now used as an outdoor teaching space. The Green Team also worked really hard over the summer to create 3 garden beds through assistance with the Just Garden project. And with those gardens, students are learning about the growth cycle of plants, optimal soil conditions for growth, and more. So we're really excited to have those garden beds. In addition to our Green Team, we have a lot of other exciting things happening. Our Principal Award Program is an opportunity for our students to learn more about our district's interdisciplinary skills and attributes that are kind of tricky to teach just during the normal school day. So what we do is have a focus of the month, and the teachers teach one of those interdisciplinary skills or attributes to the students. We share the skill of the month with parents, and then we spend the month trying to catch kids demonstrating those skills. They get nominated when they're caught, and one student from each class gets to celebrate with me each month and be acknowledged and rewarded for demonstrating those skills. Additionally, we have a partnership with the King County Library System where our kids get to come in once a month and have free dinner, a free book, a lesson, and a story, and their parents get to have some sort of parent education topic as well. And on this next slide, it shows you all the different family events that we've had in place over the last year or so and the extracurricular offerings that are currently in place. Our family events have become so large with over 500 people in attendance at some of them that we've actually had to hire parking lot patrol because there's just too many cars for our little parking lot to manage, which is a great sign because families are there and they're engaged. And I even had someone that teaches science at the high school level say the other night at our science night, just so you know, this is absolutely the best science night in the district, which was really exciting to hear. We have just amazing demonstrations and lots of hands-on projects for the kids, so it's really fun. With our extracurricular activities, we have a new club this year, our coding club, and it was so in demand that we actually had to double the offering, and it's really fun to see kids learning how to code in the library after school. So we're very thankful for the PTSA and all of the different extracurriculars that they allow us the opportunity to have. And just closing, a couple of things I wanted to share. I pulled some survey comments that were from parents, and I'll give you a second just to take a peek at those. But we get feedback on a regular basis on just how proud to be a member of our school community parents are and how thankful they are that their kids get a chance to learn in a place where academics are very important and kids are challenged on a daily basis, but also for kids to be in a place where it really represents the world and it's the most diverse and beautiful place where cultures are accepted and celebrated, and we're just really proud of our school. The last thing I wanted to share with you is something that we asked the kids a few months ago in the library. We asked them, what do you love the most about Einstein, or what's your favorite part about Einstein? And I've got a very quick video that just highlights their feelings about that.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you you can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. You'll always have my shoulder when you cry.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here tonight and for all of you who came out from the Einstein staff and community. Melissa, you did a wonderful job. Einstein's such a special place. I was recalling as you were going through this, the opportunity I had to attend International Night last year, and just what an amazing experience that is. And just every time I've been out to visit with staff or be in classrooms, it's just a really special place. So thank you all. And I just also want to acknowledge the fact that we all know Melissa, unfortunately, is leaving us at the end of this year and will be moving to a different district. And I just want to assure staff, while Melissa certainly can't be replaced, we know Einstein is a special place, and we're going to make sure that whoever follows in her footsteps as principal there is going to approach the school with as much care and passion as Melissa did. So thanks, Melissa.
And we understand that you have students tomorrow, so if you want to leave, you're welcome to stay. We don't want to shove you out the door, but we think maybe you've got some other things that you might want to attend to. And we sure appreciate your coming and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. And thank you for your presentation. And Diane, do we have any, no comments? Okay. Don't have anything on our public comment, people, so we'll move on to our consent agenda then.
I move
And
approval.
we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Second, and a second. Tracy, will you poll the board, please?
Chris? Nancy?
Yes.
Jackie? Mark?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes.
And now to non-consent.
Donations?
Oh, donations. Yes, it's been a while.
So tab 10, we've got donations this evening. Very generous donations as always. Tonight totaling $74,373. So we've got a $4,816 donation from the Eastside Native American Education Committee to the Lake Washington School District to support Native American education training. $5,000 from the Mariani Living Trust to Lake Washington High School to support drama. $1,299 from the Lake Washington PTSA Council to the Lake Washington School District to purchase grids for the reflection display. $1,209 from the Louisa May Alcott PTSA to Alcott Elementary to purchase a bench for the playground. $9,300 from the Alexander Graham Bell PTSA to Bell Elementary to purchase an outdoor message center and to support field trips. $7,290 from the Ben Franklin PTSA to Franklin Elementary to provide a stipend for after-school unicycle class and to support school goals. $1,596 from the Horace Mann PTSA to Mann Elementary to purchase Common Core mentor texts. $6,150 from the Rosa Parks PTSA to Rosa Parks Elementary to provide stipends for after-school drama club. $10,738 from the Samantha Smith PTSA to Smith Elementary to purchase PE materials, nonfiction books, a stipend for choir, to support the music department, and to provide general classroom supplies. $6,295 from the Laura Ingalls Wilder PTSA to Wilder Elementary to support Math Olympiad and motor skills and to purchase a laminating machine. $4,389 from the Middle School, PTSA, to Finn Hill Middle School to support their school goals and to support the following departments: art, language arts, social studies, math, music, PE, and special education. Also to purchase classroom microphones and supplies. $3,609 from the Redmond Middle School PTSA to Redmond Middle School to purchase dry erase board, safety radios, and a storage shed. $5,000 from the Lake Washington High School PTSA to Lake Washington High School to purchase books for the English department. And finally, $7,687 from the Redmond High School PTSA to Redmond High School to purchase biotechnology equipment for science and iPads and cases for their transition center. So again, all total tonight, $74,373 in very generous donations.
And a big thank you to all of those for PTAs and others for their ongoing support. Yes, sir.
I would really like to reach out and thank the folks at Redmond High School, for the PTSA, for the iPads for the special education kids, because a lot of those iPads will have programs on them that kids who have difficulty manipulating a regular notebook or a laptop really will help them out tremendously.
Much, much appreciated. So thanks to all of them. So now our reports.
Okay, so Heather Sinclair is here this evening. We've got two ends results reports to do this evening. So as you know, we've had to shift some previous reports from other agendas. So Heather's here tonight to present ER23, Senior High, and ER1. So the board's had these presentations available for several weeks, but tonight's our opportunity to actually highlight some of the aspects of the ER reports in the public meeting. So welcome, Heather, and I will turn it right over to you.
Thank you, thank you. As you know, that ER23, the high school, and could have easily an hour's worth of information, and then the ER1 could easily have 90 minutes of information. So I've taken those two and distilled them down to about 30 minutes. The full reports are in your folders. And so if you have questions, if you'd like to follow up with me, because I'm not going to show all the slides, obviously. So, but sometimes I think it's hard. Dan, can we turn this up just a little? I can't hear myself. Thank you. Sometimes it's hard to really explain in words what lives behind these reports, the work that's going on in the classroom. And I just want to say what Melissa Pointer just did in terms of presenting her school was such a good example of the work that teachers are doing, that principals are doing, that families are doing, and it's incredible. So, good job, Melissa. Okay, we're ready. Okay, thanks, Diane. So we're, again, focusing on ensuring academic success for all students. Tonight's presentation is going to be in two parts, as I said, ER number 2 with performance targets for our high school. Take a little bit of time talking about strengths and opportunities, and then give you some data snapshots of our progress data, progress over time, specifically with our 10th graders. And then looking at our class of 2016, 2015, 2014, and pulling out some specific information about them, giving you some district comparison data, and then some conclusions and next steps. The second part of the presentation is around our graduating students future ready. Again, doing some strengths and opportunities, looking at our graduation rates, non-grad information, grads passing AP or earning college credit, post-secondary enrollment, and then district comparison data. So what you have in front of you right now is the data that lives on our outward-facing strategic plan, and You can see that our indicators for high school students on track are percent of ninth graders earning 6 credits. The performance of 11-12 was our baseline year. And then we have performance for 12-13, and then our target performance for 2018. Some of the strengths that we saw in that were in the percentage of 10th graders accumulating 12 credits. We saw an increase there. We saw an increase in the percentage of 10th graders meeting standards in reading, algebra, geometry, and biology. We have an upward trend for African American students in reading and writing, upward trend for Hispanic students in algebra, geometry, and biology, and a really significant upward trend for low-income students. Although you'll see in the slide, it's like 2 data points, and we know that isn't necessarily a trend, but we were pretty happy with the achievement. And then a steady increase of students taking AP classes. Opportunities for improvement. We did see a slight decrease in the percentage of 9th grade students accumulating 6 credits, and so I'll talk a little bit about that later in the slides. Slight decrease in the percentage of 10th graders meeting standard in reading. And then some current class of 2015, our 11th graders, we have a gap of students not at percentage on the biology EOC, low-income Hispanic Black students, and then the percent of students in subsets who did not accumulate 12 credits by the end of 10th grade. Just a reminder of this is the overall percentage of our demographics in the district for last year, 12-13. And this slide is all students, 10th grade reading and writing, the percent at standard. The far right number is our target, 97, 96. You can see, you know, we're making progress, but we're performing pretty high as well. Looking at some ethnicity breakdown for our reading HISP. Again, we've seen an increase for our African American students. I just want to reiterate that these are not the same students year to year. These are different students. And our N for our Black students can be generally pretty low. Writing HISP percentage standard. Again, we've seen some growth. All students on 10th grade algebra EOC, geometry EOC, biology. I think again, the 2018 target, 93 and then 90 for geometry and biology. But you can see we have seen good growth for our geometry over the last 3 years. I'll back up and say we've only been doing the biology EOC for 2 years. That's why you don't have a data point in 2011. Some comparison data for our reading HISP, non-low income and low income students. You know, we continue to see that gap of performance. And then our SPED and non-SPED. I think one area that if I were to, I need to write a note is that how can we better identify the qualifying area for those special education students? They're special ed, but are they special ed in writing, math, or is it reading? Our writing for our non-low income and low income, Again, we took a dip this past year from 87 to 78, while our non-low income stays pretty constant. Different kiddos, but that's something for us to pay attention to. And then our writing for our non-SPED, our kids perform really high, and our students with IEPs are a little more up and down. Algebra EOC, this is, I think, a good trajectory for our low-income kids, going from 56 the first year we gave it to 71. And for our special education students, going from 24 that first year to 54. And then our comparison data for the geometry EOC, for low income, the first 2 years, 58, 57, pretty flat, but then last year we shot up to 82. So that's the data point that we want to see where it goes for this year. We saw a similar, we had a similar experience with our special ed students, going from 50 to 70. But I also think that in both the non-low income and the non-special ed, we see an upward trajectory in that achievement. Biology has only been given for 2 years, and so we really only have 2 data points there. So, any questions about just progress over time? Okay. Class of 2016, these are current 10th graders. These are the ones that I identified at the beginning of the presentation, that as 9th graders, they fell behind in their accrual of 6 credits. And I think this is something that, as we look at some of our interventions later on, we need to identify those students early and figure out why they aren't earning their credits. Class of 2015, these students took HISP and EOC last year. They are our current 9th grader, or excuse me, current 11th graders. And again, you see some comparison between non-low income and low income for reading, writing, and then the math EOCs. Our current seniors, we have 1,644, and as of the end of their 11th grade year, this is where the class was sitting with regards to percent at standard. 93 were at proficient, or at standard, I'm sorry, in reading, 96 in writing, 80 in algebra, 81 in geometry, and 81 in biology. But the state requirement is only 1 math EOC, and the biology EOC is not a graduation requirement. These are our current 12th graders broken up by ethnicity in reading and writing. Our algebra EOC and geometry EOC. And again, only one or the other is a requirement for graduation.
But it is a graduation requirement, right? So what's going to happen between now and 2 months from now? Is that all there is?
So students have to, for graduation, pass the reading and writing, HISP, and either the algebra EOC or the geometry EOC. So I don't know, Heather, if you have a slide that has the data that shows currently how many students, percentage of students haven't met one or the other. We've got them independently, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if
I
you
don't
it
have that
combined.
we're in the process of gathering that for each individual school. I have that for our ER1 report.
Look good, because I've got to assume that there's an awful lot of students that are represented below standard in both categories.
Yeah, we'll need to follow up to see if.
We are.
Kids have
That
2
how many
months to get this.
And this was as of last June.
Okay.
So,
Oh.
yeah, these are current 12th graders, what they were doing at the end of their 11th grade year.
Okay, so presumably somebody's been paying attention to this year.
There's
That's
been a
what
number
we
of
really wanna
retake
know.
opportunities, so what we don't have here is
Correct.
students who have now subsequently passed when they
Right.
did a retake. Is
We're-
that correct?
Correct. Nancy, we're also in the process of having each of our high schools identify those seniors at risk, much like we did last year, and what steps were being put into place for interventions to ensure.
Oh, I thought that was started in the fall.
It actually continues all year long, but now, as we get into the end of first semester of a student's senior year, you know, we want to make sure, counselors, principals, do you know what students are in danger and what needs to happen in order for them to?
It actually starts in ninth grade. That's one of
Yeah.
the reasons,
Yeah.
seriously, why we started looking at the credit coming out of first semester ninth grade, who hasn't earned all of their credit, because if you're starting to fall behind in credit, in addition to not passing state assessments, we're starting to intervene at that point. So what Heather is referring to is just now that we're approaching the final few months until graduation, they're really pulling out all the stops at the high school level to see which students still potentially are at risk of not graduating and what can we do now at this point. Not that this is where the intervention started, but just
Correct.
now as we're in the final few months. So, I mean, that's a really good point. We don't just wait until, you know, April of senior year.
Yeah,
and
if we
then
did, it
start
would be too late.
paying attention. Yes.
At the same time, I think regardless of whether or not being a graduation requirement, algebra is a key math skill that students need to have in order to succeed at college. So if our mission is to graduate college ready and ready for the workforce, algebra is a key skill. And it's also a gateway math to our sciences for many of them. And so it would be good to be seeing that moving down in the sense of we have lower grades passing at higher rates
Right.
in order to make
And
that work.
that's one of our on our list of action steps is to review those middle school math pathways and really looking, you know, what are our numbers of students who are accessing algebra, geometry in the middle school? Because, you know, our pathway changed, was it, Matt, last year? So there were 2 opportunities for acceleration into our math pathways at 7th grade and then 8th grade.
At the same time, I think it'd be important to be looking at the 9th grade and 10th grade and the teaching of algebra at that point in time to see what other types of approaches might need to take place in which to be able to get the kids who didn't get it and be able to succeed.
And on the slide before this one, the, not geometry, the 18 credits by the end of 11th grade. Next slide. Oh,
Nancy, that may have been one I pulled out.
oh. Well, I find it interesting, percent accumulating 18 credits by the end of the 11th grade. There's an awful lot of students who have not been keeping up.
It started in 9th grade. One would expect it would likely go down when we only offer 6 credits per year.
Yes, I realize that. But generally speaking, we have about 95 or more % of our kids graduating in 4 years. So if there's this many behind at the end of 11th grade, what are they doing to catch up?
Well, we do have some credit retrieval programs. We have before school, after school. We have summer programs that we have been afforded through AT&T grant. to offer summer school for credit retrieval that includes, some mentoring, adult mentoring. We've got online potential for those kids. And we also have extended graduation. Kids come back as a fifth-year senior.
Oh, which, I understand that, just, we don't traditionally have that higher percentage, so I'm looking at these slide and going, whoa.
Well, I think the key thing is 24 credits aren't required for graduation at this point in time. That's coming down the pike. So there's less. It's only
Right now?
22.
Currently, we have
22.
a 22-credit graduation requirement. Beginning with the class of 2019, they'll have a 24-credit requirement.
So there's some play there.
But Nancy, I think your question is one that I can pull out and get, out to you or out to Tracy in a board brief is doing a comparison. Where were we last year with these 11th graders versus where are we this year? Actually, last year's seniors and this year's seniors, were we in about the same place? And we end up with about the same kind of graduation rate.
Well, that remains to be seen this year.
Yes.
But I think what it shows is that if we have that many kids who aren't getting 18 credits the way we're set up now, when we go to 24, we will have more problems getting them to 24 unless we do something different about more things that they could take over their 4-year experience.
Ooh, that 7-period day comes back.
Yes, that 7th period comes around again.
Well, and it's also, encouraging students not to take a period off their senior year.
Right.
For that early dismissal, late arrival kind of thing. We know some students need to do that because they have jobs and they need to work and so on. But I think, it's our opportunity to be creative.
If they're behind in their credits, that's not even going to be an option if they want to graduate.
Yeah. Mark's
Going back to the bar charts you have with the ethnicities, it seems to me, having the low income on the same page as ethnic groups, it's a little bit apples and oranges because you've got a cross-section of ethnicities in that low income. So it
You're
seems
right,
like
Mark.
that'd be a chart of it. God knows I'm not one to ask for more numbers, but it would seem to me that would be more useful to
Well,
you.
I'm just assuming that you've got mixes of kids. You could have a kid in the low-income group that's also in one of these other groups.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it should be have one chart for the low income broken down by ethnicity, and one chart for
Numbers get too
non-low
small.
income.
Well, it's not so much the numbers getting messy. It's really,
They get too small.
yeah, we don't subset by both simultaneously. This is just two different ways.
I understand we don't, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it'd be more useful.
But mostly this is my fault because I asked them to give us fewer slides, so now we can compress things onto one slide. We could have two charts on one slide and put some airspace in between those, but
Because
we'll
special
go
ed's
through
the
the
same.
details on that
Yeah,
later.
and special ed's the same thing, because they're going to be
Well,
crossed
Right,
over.
but if the
ELL
image is too small, they're not going to be able to
Right.
show the data anyway.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, our advanced place numbers, advanced placement, students who have taken the advantage of the number of AP classes we have. Class of data on the far left. So 2013, obviously last year's seniors, we had 842 individuals enrolled in AP. And you can see because that doubles, more than doubles, we had some of those seniors taking more than one AP class. Individuals taking exams, 626, so not all students who take AP classes take the exam. And then we also have a number of students who take the exam who'd never take a class. Our pass rate is 76.8, and I believe the national average is about 72. And we had 2016, the class of 2016, so they would be sophomores, so when they were freshmen, we had 6 students enrolled in AP classes.
I thought we didn't allow that. When did that change?
I'll ask Dan. Personally, if the kid's ready to take it in
I
eighth grade,
don't,
they should.
I agree, but there used to be a big fight over that. That's interesting.
Now that they're at the high school, they can do these things.
There were, yeah, never mind. I mean, it's good to see. No, there used to be restrictions.
It looks like they're ready, they're passing with a 90.5%.
Yeah, they're probably fairly exceptional.
Yeah, they were probably ready.
Okay, and then our Running Start enrollment, this was our end of the year last year average. On the Running Start on the left is by school. Full-time Running Start, for example, at Emerson, we had 1 full-time student and 2 students participating part-time. Our highest number of participation full-time was at Eastlake and Emerson K-12. And part-time at Eastlake and Redmond. And then on the far right is the total class enrollment. So we've been pretty steady with this average of about 9% of our students participating in Running Start.
Sorry, pardon my ignorance, but define for me Running Start. I'm not familiar.
Okay, that's a good question. Running Start is a college partnership that our legislature decided that they would offer for high school students, 11th and 12th graders, and it was a partnership with our community colleges, so FTE could be counted in 2 places.
So the student actually attends college for part or all of the day when they participate
That
in
I
Running
understand. I
Start?
just didn't know the term Running Start. That
Gotcha.
wasn't really-
Mark, the other thing that's interesting to note is this was 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. The legislature passed a law that allowed students to earn a high school diploma if they earned an AA degree. And that meant they didn't have to participate in any of the district's graduation requirements, the belief being if they could earn an AA degree, they certainly could earn a high school diploma. But you'll see a little bit later on, those students who do that count as dropouts for us.
Which makes no sense.
And Heather, for the Running Start kids, do we know what class they're, I mean, are there specific classes they're opting into at the college level, or?
It's very dependent, Chris. Some take their English there. You know, full-time Running Start students, if they plan to get a diploma from us, have to fulfill our graduation requirements. So they have to take English, they have to take social studies, history. You know, some take art, some, you know, so it's very dependent. Some take their math there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is this something where it's the equivalent or the credit recovery option de facto for math or something? Anyway, it's not a question you can answer on your feet. I'm just interested in knowing
No,
what
but it
classes
is
they're
interesting to know, in order to go into or be accepted into a Running Start program, you have to take it's called the Access exam, and you have to demonstrate a level of proficiency in math and in writing, reading.
Because, for example, the English class that you're taking there is college-level English, and you're earning both your high school credit and college credit. So if you're in full-time Running Start, by the time you complete Running Start, you've earned your 2-year degree. And those credits also count toward fulfilling your high school graduation requirements.
It's just that they only have to fulfill the state's high school requirements unless they want an LDUB diploma, in which case they have to fulfill ours, and they have to do it by the time they're 21. The state is pretty much unlimited.
Yeah, I'll ask more questions offline.
Okay. Our district comparison, you'll see, you know, again, continuing our comparison with North Shore, Issaquah, Bellevue, and then the state. We're pretty comparable in reading and writing. Has been nothing and above the state. Our biology, geometry, and algebra exams, again, I think we see some comparability there. amongst our districts. So some of our current and planned action steps, this is really important, and especially as we move into the Common Core and we continue with the Smarter Balanced Assessment work into next year, that continue to reinforce that alignment with our resources. Continuing to work with schools for clarity for standards taught and assessed. This is where I said examining our middle school pathways. And I think, Siri, your point of really looking at, how is 9th grade and 10th grade math being taught is also a point we could add here. We're also getting ready for next generation science standards that we'll begin the planning and learning for next year. Work that we're going to continue with our continuous improvement process, the data dashboard, new evaluation system. We will continue to set goals for the class of based on individual student performance. And very much like Melissa demonstrated today in those data teams and looking at individual students, that's what our high schools are doing too, in identifying students and what they need to do through their professional learning communities. And then directors of school support and principal collaboration. Okay, that's our senior high. Any questions?
Mine was, in reviewing this, I had looked over your old one to get an idea of what I was going to see. One of the questions that came, it was clear that that 9th grade is that key year that has a lot associated with dropout and retention of kids. And so focusing there, and ideally I would hope that'd be a priority as we go forward, that we work at changing what that percentage is and that is increasing, because that's where it can begin. We're already setting kids up for issues if we don't address it then. And that could easily be around social service issues. How do we deal with much as the discipline issues we were talking about tonight? All those components, I think, play together. So as we think about that, what are those various strategies I think would be important? The other piece is the low-income students. We consistently see it still. How are we going to address that? How are we going to go forward? Are there new strategies we could try? Some targeted interventions of some kind to see change within a year, at least piloting. Kissimmee has shown some very good outreach with a very targeted intervention. I think that's a great opportunity. Can we do something at the high school in the same way?
Just want to chime in to say yes on all the safety network, and Kissimmee is part of that safety network, specifically at elementary, of course, and we're moving forward with what do we need to do. They mentioned credit recovery and some things that are sort of after the fact, and we're trying to figure out how do we appropriately intervene in safety net prior to the student not earning credit. And so that is work that is underway. And when we look, although we disaggregate the data by low income, the interventions we do for students are for students who aren't at standard. So we don't have targeted interventions for students who are low income. We have targeted interventions for students who aren't at standard, with the exception of Title I dollars at the elementary level. So the schools who have the highest preponderance of student percentage on free or reduced lunch get additional staffing. But the intervention is always for the student not at standard. And then, of course, there's peripheral supports, community supports, and things, for example, what Melissa mentioned in terms of community outreach. Again, that's an elementary example. But pantry paths, some of those things, too. So those are targeting more of the poverty issues, whereas programmatically we're really focused on the individual students who aren't meeting standards, knowing that a higher percentage of them are low income.
Right, absolutely.
So I just like to make that.
It's the piece then our general education curriculum might not necessarily have this, we might not have created the environment needed outside of safety net so that our kids are not ending up in safety net disproportionately of low income. So
Well, it would seem to me that the low-income students have additional issues that you need to address to help them to reach standard. There may be some home issues, there may be some economic issues that make reaching standard more difficult for them. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration when you're trying to look at how to help them reach standard.
Right, and so I think that it'll be interesting to follow the kindergarten intervention. What we've done is targeted students early, because knowing that when you come to kindergarten not ready to learn, you're sort of already at a disadvantage, and the students who are at a disadvantage tend to be the students who are in the low income data that we see. And if we can make that intervention academically at kindergarten and then sustain it, is that going to set them up for future success? The other thing is, I think in this whole conversation about low income, our partnerships with agencies and our cities are so important, because there's so much that we can do as a district, but then there's so many things that are beyond what we can really control in terms of the classroom academic intervention. Melissa mentioned Operation School Bell, which is through Assistance League, and that's helping provide clothing for students, so that's taking one part of that. Pantry packs with the food. I met recently with some representatives from United Way, who have a parent home child program, and they are focused on families in poverty at the early preschool and identifying those families, and there's a home mentor that goes in and reads with the child and the parent. And so it's such a big issue. It's what we need to focus on, what we can do in the classroom, and how are we taking advantage of those social services and helping connect families with social services as well, to help some of the other issues outside of what can happen in the classroom. So I just wanted to mention that, because we do have great partnerships with Assistance League, United Way. We put forward a grant for that program through the Schools Foundation, and the Schools Foundation is also trying to help in this area as well.
Unfortunately, with Operation School Bell, and I remember their presentation saying how limited their funds are, the poverty for the students doesn't end at 9th grade, but the Operation School Bell does.
Correct.
And I would suggest that the kids who are getting assistance through 9th grade are probably going to need it in 10th, 11th, and 12th. It doesn't end there, and we have to find some other partnership perhaps that can take that.
They're just harder to get to than the young kids. The other thing too is you know, with the emphasis we can do in kindergarten, I still wish that we could either afford our own, or our cities can help have some more affordable preschools for some of these kids that would highly make it worth their while to attend when they're little, and get some of those skills even before they come to our intensive kindergarten, because that's where a lot of those exposure to reading and to the words and things that they're not getting at home, which put them behind by the time they get to kindergarten. And so I think that's, you know, Seattle's moving closer and closer to preschool for everybody, but I think that's an area that our community really needs to seriously look at.
Okay, going on to ER1, these are our milestones and indicators. Obviously, by 2018, we want 100% of our students graduating. We wanted 80% of our students earning AP or college credit or the equivalent, and we had 91% this year, or last year.
And I just want to chime in there. When we set the performance target of 80%, we didn't know. We didn't have the current data available. So now that we know the actual percentage is 91%, it's probably a good opportunity for us to look at that performance target and adjust it accordingly, knowing what the baseline data is.
Yes.
Okay, so strengths, the number of students who did graduate with AP exam or earning high school, or I'm sorry, excuse me, college credit. And we did see a slight increase of our students enrolling post-secondary within 2 years, 1%. Opportunities, and I think we've already talked about this some, it's that early identification of students who fall behind in graduation requirements, and it really does have to start in the 9th grade. Review strategies for credit retrieval. You know, what are some other ways that we can do it? We do have some things in place now, but what else? What else can we do? Review dropout data to determine how many students earn an AA degree and subsequent high school diploma. You know, because they do count for dropouts for us, and yet, you know, they went to our schools, and, you know, so we may not be able to count them externally, but can we count them internally? It's just my selfish desire.
Are you going to set a time limit on those kids who get that AA degree? Some of them may take 10 years.
I think it has to be within their the year they would have graduated. And they have to, interestingly, Nancy, they have to request it from the granting institution. It's not an automatic.
Okay, I was just wondering how far you were going to go with this.
And when you can get Running Start to count for us, please.
And then, you know, Matt has done great work this year with a subgroup of high school staff and principals and parents around the high school and beyond plan, and so we are really looking to implement that with fidelity, and I think that will help too. Okay, I just want to remind you of how we count dropout reporting, because it has changed. And that's a lot of words. But basically what happened is that the new graduation rate calculation changed in 10-11. And instead of looking at a year and looking at all the kids in 9, 10, 11, 12 and factoring them into the graduation rate, they changed it to once you entered 9th grade in a given year, that was your class of, and you had 4 years to graduate to be considered graduating on time. If you graduated in that 5th year, it was called an extended graduation rate. So you will see it's going to look different beginning this year. They for a couple of years did dual calculations, and now they only are calculating it the one way. And if you get on the OSPI report card and you go back a couple of years and then go to the most recent, you'll see the 2 different ways they're calculating. So why do I share that with you? Because our class of 2013, we had 88.6 on-time graduation rate. And that takes into consideration the number of students who dropped out, number of students who, and remember that does include our AA kiddos, a number of students who just left the system and we don't have any information about them. This also includes the number of active students who are continuing on. And I have another slide that will spell that out. But right now we don't have the extended rate because we will get those numbers this year.
Basically, our numbers went down with the new calculation.
It did.
Yeah. I think the main thing is that if we just get consistent, because it was just crazy the number of different ways people calculated it. And people think it's just straightforward, and it really isn't.
No, and in the next slide, you're going to see, you know, it really is, we had about 6% of our students not graduate. And that's, you know, it just entirely too many. And so I think that's what we need to do. I mean, 2 kids not graduating on time is too many. 1.
Heather, we might need to follow up on this, but you've got 91.9 for the class of 2012 on time. If we were to go into the report card site and pull that up, is that number going to be the same?
I believe it is.
Okay. And the 2013 data is not yet on the state report card
No.
site?
So this goes back to 2012 on-time and 2011 extended graduation rate in comparison to our fellow districts. And now this slide looks at our non-graduates. So if you just read across the top with me, 190 of our students were non-grads. Coincidentally, 95 are inactive next year, this year, and 95 are active. So 95 that are inactive, it is dropouts, 65 were dropouts. We had 2 who did GED completion, and the rest were students who were not in, they just left our system, and we don't know where they are.
And of those 65, how many were Running Start?
I don't know that, Jackie. That's what I want to dig in and find out some more.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I'm sorry that shows that they're dropouts.
Yes. Then the next column, number of active in the next year in our district, 95, again, coincidentally. If you add up to the left of that black line, number not meeting standard on state assessments, missing only credits, district performance-based, culminating project high school and beyond, or a combination, if you add that up and add 19, that adds up to 95. And the 19 are our transition students. Does that make sense?
Of those who became inactive, or maybe and we just don't know, and you said dropout, so we don't know where they were standing at that point in time when they dropped.
Or they were never intending on getting a high school diploma and got their A degree.
Yeah. To Running Start. Okay.
But I think it's also the other 27, 26 who we don't have records for them. You know, where did they go? So this is our non-grad data by high school. Our 4 comprehensive high schools and choice school. And at this point, it's just ICS. STEM doesn't have seniors yet. Alternative schools, Emerson, Future, Emerson K-12, for a total of 1,563, 1,563, 6% did not graduate. And if you go back a slide and you think, well, 190, that doesn't do the math, that isn't come out, you know, that's not 6%, it's higher than that. It's 6% because we've held those students because they're continuing on in our system. The next slide is a post-secondary district enrollment comparison, number of students who graduated from our district in Bellevue, Issaquah, North Shore, and State, and then the percentage going on to college. And then broken down by who stayed in state and who went out of state.
So on this, the Washington 75%, out-of-state 25%, that adds up to 100%. That's of the 81% going to college, correct?
Correct, thank you.
Thank you. Just making certain.
Yeah.
So, I didn't look ahead, sorry. You're going to tell us where else they're going?
It's in the big slide deck.
Sorry, I'm slacking off here. Got to look ahead. Okay,
so just some last couple of slides on, this is our AP exam scores, students receiving a 5, 4, or 3 out of a 5 pass the exam. And You can see we have a steady increase of students who are taking the exam, and our passage rate stays pretty even. And then lastly, I think this is, when I shared this with Tracy, we were both like, oh my gosh, Heather, go back and check your numbers. But of the students in the class of 2013 who graduated on time, 91.2% unduplicated count passed or took a running start class, passed an AP, tech prep, and it's broken down by
That's phenomenal.
and you can see in this next slide, we have 902 students who took at least one course that was marked, labeled as a tech prep.
Okay, I do think you should change the running start to be a C or better. It's because a D, oftentimes you can't get college credit for in certain areas, so.
I'll write that down. And then this is just a slide showing progression over time for our time of graduation students who attended our district for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years, how well they did in those state large-scale assessments. The science at the bottom is not the biology EOC. That had not come into place yet. And then some of our planned action steps on the graduation date, as I said previously, each of the DSS is working with each school to identify action steps. Each school is taking to provide support, follow up on the dropout data for, how many of those dropouts earned an AA degree, looking at credit retrieval opportunities, again, highlighting the early intervention. Really have to get in and hound those little ninth graders. Frequent communication with student and family. And then I think, the new model that we discussed during the board extended work days is the new ER and EL coordination beginning next year is really going to be great. And it's going to give that opportunity to say, okay, here's the ends, what were the means to get there? So it's going to be great.
So Heather, do you...
Great.
It will be great. You didn't have another slide. Where's the 19% who aren't going to college? Do we know where they're going? Do we have any data on them?
No.
We don't. Okay. Do we know how many go in the military? Do we get that data?
I can look into that, Nancy. I'm not sure.
Or what about the trades? It seems to me they might be able to get us data, the apprenticeship programs and trades. A lot of those do require them to do AA at least, but I would be curious if it's not too much trouble.
Okay, do we have some questions for Heather?
I have one, but it's on the slide you didn't have in there.
Okay.
And it had to do with the remedial work that happened for those going on to college and how many had to have remedial math or English. And when you looked at the 2-year college, it was about half of the kids needed English or math. Now, many of those, I'm assuming, passed all our state standards and have graduated, yet they're still needing remedial. So that's sort of one of those pieces of how do we look at that? What does that mean? I mean, that's sort of looking at that data saying, if we're graduating them college ready, we didn't succeed with this group of kids, what happened and what can we do differently to make sure that it does? So when they go to college, they can succeed and stay.
And I think the slide you're referring to, Siri, is the one that speaks to once they got into college, they were not in 100 level and above classes.
Yeah, it just says they had to have remedial in math or remedial in English or both. If they were 4-year, it was only about 4%. So it was a much smaller percentage, but a 2-year was much higher, which
And that
it
goes
also
out,
fits with some of the ACT results when you looked at College Ready in regards to the ACT. About what, I think 57% were shown across all 4 subject matters. We were strongest in composition, in English, and then math and science got a little harder. So those are sorts of things I think that data can help sort of think about, are we meeting our mission of getting kids ready for college from that perspective? It's not career ready necessarily, but it is a different piece besides the graduation requirements. And I'm also would be curious about the PSAT, knowing that that's our only universal one we do for all our 10th graders. And I don't see that in either the high school report or in the end one. It might fit better in the high school one, because I think that's a good marker point through
and
the
it's
high
universal.
school year. And it's, every student's take it. The challenge with the ACT and the SAT, it's all a self-selecting sample. But that would just be something I think would be interesting, because that might provide some different information. So those are just some of the questions that came up that I had looked at. And I was glad to see that you incorporated all those other college programs that we offer in our schools, the high school. It'd be great to have Cambridge. I don't know if that was in there. I don't know if it fits.
You know, it's not included in there right now because this is their first year for seniors.
Okay. I
Cambridge
do think
next
it's
year.
important that we have that wide range of opportunities to earn the college credit and have that experience, where AP is one way and there are many other opportunities that we're providing, which is great.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Chris, Nancy? Mark? Thank you, Heather.
Can I just ask the board a question?
Certainly.
Okay, our ends results are sort of where we're supposed to say if our district is succeeding at doing what we should be doing. What is your opinion on that, based on what you've seen?
I'm wondering what the impact of adoption of Common Core is going to do. And so before we start monkeying around with what our targets should be, we really want to start looking at maybe 1 year of Common Core to see how that changes, if that does change, does it have any impact whatsoever on the results or on the numbers. My one concern, I have no problem with adopting Common Core, but my concern is the idea that when you switch from one system to another and there's no translation from the standard to here and standard to there of the numbers, it's going to make it a very, all of a sudden you jump your target to another 10% higher, and all of a sudden Common Core knocks you down to about 30%. God forbid that would happen, you know what I'm saying?
Our numbers have been pretty consistent over the last 5 years, and while they're good, they're high, so that makes it even harder to go from 92% to 100. But it will be interesting to see how and what it takes to put into place to start ratcheting that percentage up.
Overall, I want to pat us on the back, and at the same time, I want to push us to improve. And so I don't want to dismay people, but there are some subtle trends that show up in the data. When you compare against our neighboring districts on the 5 biology, reading, writing, algebra, geometry, we have 3 districts that border us. Every one of those 3 districts beat us in every one of those 5 tests this year. It's a very subtle thing to beat us by 1 or 2%, but literally all of our neighbors outperformed us by a couple percent. I'd like to see that gap erased. So it's not that I'm saying we're doing badly, but I'm saying there's definitely room for us to do better. And I just want to put that on the table.
To that point, it'd be interesting to see what they're doing differently, if anything at all. My guess is probably not much. But if there is something whatsoever that you know, they're trying a pilot program, they're doing this, they're doing that, or they're keeping their books different, I don't know.
Exactly. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. It is possible they're keeping their books differently, but understanding why would be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know how much, because we talk about low income, So it'd be interesting to see. I imagine Issaquah and North Shores are smaller than ours overall. So that's a little piece, but I'm not, and that's not an excuse. It's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
another comment.
I don't want to lead with an
Yeah.
apology. I
Yep.
want to understand it
Yep.
and do something about it if we can.
And Bellevue's are in a small pocket too.
And if it is low income, then we need to think about doing something to address that problem beyond what we're doing. Not saying that we're not doing enough, but maybe we need to do more regardless. Maybe we need to find ways, start thinking outside the box to find some corporate partners that can help us with this problem.
If you all remember the brainstorming we did, for which we asked for the world and a few planets thrown in additionally. But maybe what we really are asking for is we do have a lot of intervention programs. And I think it's worth taking a look at them in light of the changing funding that is going to give us a little more money, not a lot more money, but a little. Because when we lost 728 money, did we lose the 728 money completely? Or just, it just completely, I mean, we used 728 money for intervention. We used it for smaller class size, we used it for summer programs, we used it to get at-risk kids into preschool. We did a lot with that money, and it disappeared. So I think it's time, I don't know how many things, I know we are not doing as much with the preschool. We still have a summer school. We still have some safety net. But I think we need a really good look at our safety net programs, and that's probably one of our higher priorities, I'm guessing, with our little bit of new money for which we came up with unending ideas of what we could do with it. Not that I'm giving up on foreign language starting in kindergarten or Siri's giving up on 7th period classes or anything. But interventions are important. At the same time, we know that it's also important, Chris's thing that's important, I think, to all of us is that targeted, I'm not going to think of the right term at the moment, but, you know, gifted education for all that we should be doing, which is really a staff development issue, I think, and a time issue.
And that piece, this had nothing to do with your ER1 report. Our host school, when they got up and told us that we were doing push-in safety net, we're doing push-in ELL,
I was just going to bring that up.
I was like,
Push in, pull out, both.
push in and pull out. And when there's no push-in, pull out listed for Quest, that kind of gets my attention.
That was their flexible time.
Yeah,
When I
That's
met
nice.
with them, no, actually, it was actually quite impressive. I got to go out and visit with her.
I'm going
after
to interject
school. It was
a
good.
couple of things into the conversation. One, I think it's worth reminding everyone that until this past year, we've been doing end result reporting for as long as I can remember, but we haven't had any performance targets
Right.
to say, are we on track? Are we reaching our end results? So now we have performance targets to help us answer that question. In March, we talked about how do we even better improve our ER reporting and make it more parallel to our EL reporting, where we, as a district, say to the board, we believe we're in compliance or we're not in compliance, and you have the opportunity to either agree or disagree, and that helps inform our work in the area. We also have, which we haven't had for a number of years, a strategic plan that specifies the actual work that we're doing toward meeting our performance targets, our strategic goals, and our overall larger vision and mission. And you've heard program reports back aligned to that strategic work, including the program review that we've done in Safety Net. We now have a director of intervention programs. The KISSN program is a good concrete example of a new program that we started toward trying to reach our performance targets. So I just want to interject into the conversation that we have some things that we have put into place
over the last 2 years to really up our game in end results reporting. And so are we meeting? I think we need to go back to our performance targets to say, you know, now we've got these set last year, are we on track to meeting them, and what are the areas that we are and aren't? How do we use that data to help inform the strategic work that we're doing to get our results to increase? And also, to Mark's point, we're going to have to grapple with the fact that our standards are changing, and we're going to need to take a look at those performance targets after we have some baseline data, because I can pretty much guarantee that our scores are not going to, they're going to go down when the assessments are now aligned to the new standards, because the standards are more rigorous. And anytime you change the standards and you change the assessment instrument, you can expect a decline, and then we'll come back up again. So I think the time to look at performance targets and say, do we need to do some revisions, knowing that we've only had them in place for a year, right, is with the new standards. So, I mean, I think we've got some good things going in this area to make, you know, all of these dots line up, so to speak, to get the results that we want for kids. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I am going to spend some time in superintendent's report patting ourselves on the back a little bit. You should. Because we have some great achievement going on.
I'd like to see us trying to reach out to the, I don't know what's UW or whichever school, to find out if we could find someone who would like to sit down as a research project to see if they can figure out ways to compare the old standards to the new standards. So there could be a transitional mathematics, so you could have apples-to-apples comparison. And granted, they're not going to do it for free, and we're going to have to find a foundation to underwrite a grant for it. But I would think that it would be in our best interest, as well as the rest of the districts around the country for that matter, to be able to compare the old numbers to the new numbers and see, okay, are we really that far off of where we were, even with the new standards, and how does that translate? Because it doesn't make sense to have your rules in Spanish one year and the rules in French the next, and not have a translator.
Really?
Well, you know, unless you're in Olympia, then it matters.
Then it doesn't.
So Tracy, speaking to your question on ER reporting, as I was sitting here, I actually did have a bit of a revelation. This was even prior to your statement on it, but it dovetails beautifully. As a board member, I'm interested at the senior level, at our true ER1, in how many of our kids are graduating, and then drilling down to, of the kids who aren't, why not? And so rather than leading with, well, here are the 12 different metrics, what I want is to start with, how many of our kids didn't graduate? And then why didn't, let's figure out what the important parameters were, because we've got 5 different EOCs, and among those 5 different EOCs, you add them up and it comes up to, I mean, what fraction of them didn't? Sorry, I did the back of the envelope, and I think it was 69% of, if you added up 7% from math with X% from reading, X% from writing, it came to 69%. Obviously, 69% of our kids are not graduating. But it's what fraction of our kids have all 5 of them passed. That's the thing that I would happily start with, instead of drilling into the details on, oh, well, here's reading, here's writing, here's how many are good, are done.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of the big picture that was lacking. And I would be happy to go that direction.
Good. So as we think about continuing the work on revising the end result reports that we talked about in March, and then revising the policy to align with the new reporting structure, we can, as we say, here's the data, because in our policy it specifies here's the data that's included in each report. That'll give us the opportunity to rework the policy to ensure that the data that you're wanting is actually included in the report.
And if I
and in policy.
As an example of that, we spent a lot of time talking about the 5 things one has to pass. When I went to the board portal, I'm pretty sure that the majority of the kids who are at risk of not passing are not due to those 5 parameters. They're credits that are missing. And that is something that's more important, and yet it didn't get discussed because of the way we phrased the report.
Right, and maybe I'd have to go back and look, but we have historically in ER1 had that slide that said of the students who didn't graduate on time, and I believe you showed it here this evening.
Credit.
Was it credit? Was it our
level 5 graduation requirements? Was it culminating project, high school and beyond? Or not meeting the state assessments, or a combination of all of those things? Yeah.
And I think the challenge is because it's in combination is our biggest. I think that was 65, and it was very small numbers for everything else. It might be more interesting to do it as duplicated, meaning I could be in all those different columns that we had. 60 of those kids didn't meet the credit requirement, and 5 of them didn't meet the state assessments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And not worry about being able to sum it across.
Yeah.
It does, I think that would get to your...
Well, that's data that we want to have, so we know what areas we need to focus on, right? Yeah.
And I'm just trying to come up with a way that phrases it towards the question we should be asking. Okay, you've got a lot of kids who are graduating. Good job. I'm going to try and lead with a compliment, but I'm not good at it. But you've got X percent of kids who didn't graduate, and now let's dissect why not. And so it's not even a matter of out of the 100% anymore. It's out of that 16% or 5% or whatever the number be. And drilling into that is where it gets interesting.
I mean, the piece that was interesting is comparing that graduation rate to our other districts. It was fairly consistent with all the other districts. I mean, everybody. So the question remains in possibly conversations with them as well. What are some of those issues that are common that we're not being able to get that 1 in 10?
Right.
And as I said, that last 8-10%
Is hard.
going to be hard for lots of reasons of why those kids are not getting credits and all that. It's much easier to go from 50% to 90 than it is going to be to go from 90 to 100.
I wouldn't be surprised if you find a number of those 95 that we can't figure out where the world they went to. If we check in with military records and find, I'd be very surprised not to find a percentage of those, not a hefty percentage, but a substantial percentage that were enlistments.
Could be.
Because I recall going back over years that there's always a percentage of high school seniors that disappeared into the military, regardless of whether there's a war going on or not.
Yeah.
Just because it seemed to be in boot camp was easier than high school.
Okay, great. And thank you again, Miss Heather back there. All right. Superintendent's report.
Okay. I, as I said, really do want to spend a little bit of time this evening highlighting some of our recent accomplishments. And I often speak, when I'm speaking to groups, about the fact that our district is a high-achieving district, and it's true. And I'm going to spend some time highlighting some of our recent accomplishments, specifically with respect to the Washington Achievement Awards, that show that we really do focus on results for students, and that we have a strong commitment to student achievement and high performance in this district. This year, more of our schools than ever before, will receive Washington Achievement Awards from the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction and the State Board of Education. 25 of our schools from every single one of our cities, will be honored with the Washington Achievement Awards, many of them in multiple categories. The 25 schools will receive a total of 46 recognitions. 17 schools in our district earn the Overall Excellence Award, and that's more than twice as many schools as the next highest district, which is Bellevue, who had only, 7 schools honored.
Yay. I'm sorry.
Washington Achievement Award winners are selected using the Washington Achievement Index and criteria in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act flexibility waiver. Schools are recognized as top performers in 6 categories, including overall excellence, high progress, reading growth, math growth, 5-year graduation rate, and English language acquisition. Some of our schools are honored in more than one of these categories. So again, we have 17 of our schools honored for overall excellence, and they qualify for recognition in overall excellence in one of 2 ways. Either they meet the criteria for being highest performing, which means they met all of their annual measurable objectives for the all students group in reading, math, and graduation rates if they're a high school for 3 most recent years. So this isn't just 1 year of achievement, it's multiple years. Or they're among the top 5% of schools based on the 3-year composite index rating. For 5 of our 17 schools that earned the Overall Excellence Award, this is their second or third year in a row of earning that award, and 8 of our schools will be recognized with high progress. So the 5 of the 17 for 17 total for overall excellence, 5 of them it's in multiple years. Next category is high progress awards, and so we've got 8 schools recognized for high progress. What that means is they are in the top 10% of schools making the most progress in the performance of the all students group over 3 years. 10 of our schools earned the Reading Growth Award, and 6 of our schools earned the Math Growth Award. Schools qualify for recognition if they're in the top 5% based on median growth percentiles in reading and math, and to be eligible, they have to have reportable median growth percentiles for the 3 most recent years and not be newly identified as a focus, emerging, or priority school under the ESEA waiver. We also have 4 schools that earned the award for English language acquisition, and these schools qualify for recognition, or how schools qualify for recognition in this category is if they are the top 5% highest performing schools based on the median point gain on the Washington English Language Proficiency Assessment, or the WELPA. We also have, for the 4th year in a row, one of our high schools who has earned the award for the 5-year graduation rate, also known as extended graduation rate. And schools in this category qualify for recognition based on the overall 3-year average and based on the lack of gap between the all students group and all of the targeted subgroups. And also priority focus emerging schools aren't eligible for this, so our schools aren't in those categories. As we saw tonight, we regularly compare ourselves with other districts, and we did some additional computing of this data, and I want to share that with you. So while the district population represents 2.38% of the overall state student population, we earned 17% of the state's awards for overall excellence, over 10% of the awards for reading growth, nearly 10% of the awards for English language acquisition, a little over 6% of the math awards, a little over 5% of the 5-year grad rate, and a little over 3.5% of the high progress. So we're overrepresented in these awards when comparing with every other district in the entire state. And these honors really reflect the hard work of our students, our staffs, our families, and I'm very proud of all of our schools. And this Thursday in Lacey, there'll be an awards ceremony honoring all of our schools, and we will have a lot of time on the stage, and I can assure you that other districts around the state will be looking as they say Lake Washington, Lake Washington, Lake Washington, and honor all of our schools. So it's quite an impressive list, and it really is something that we should be proud of and take a few minutes tonight to pat ourselves on the back, because while we're always pushing to be better, 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 it's also important to stop and say, yeah, we're doing pretty darn well, and we have a lot to be proud of.
You know,
Yes,
they're
we do.
doing the Green Ribbon Awards that same ceremony, so Stamford will get a recognition for their
That's excellent.
work in, I think, Pillar 1. Are you going to be there?
I will be there, absolutely. I would not miss it. And I just want to close by reiterating that we have a strong history of providing outstanding education for our students. And we're not only a high-performing district, but we're a large district. We're the 6th largest district in the state. We're continuing to grow. We've added 1,600 students in just the past 2 years alone, and I believe that, and we have the data to back it up, that people specifically move to this area because of the quality of our schools. And just want to end by reminding everyone that tomorrow is election night. We have an important bond measure on the ballot, and I urge our families and our community members to weigh in on this important measure. It's an important decision for our communities and for the future of our great school district. Please make sure your vote is heard, and please vote.
And a much-deserved pat on the back.
Yes.
To all our staff throughout the district. It's, as you said, it comes from all over the district, the schools that were recognized. It was wonderful to read the names of the schools and see, again, you were talking not just a flash in the pan, that this is stuff that goes on over periods of time for the recognition and hard work that goes on in the buildings, as we heard today. This is just a snapshot, what we heard today, of what goes on every day across the district in every school. We've got very caring staff and parents and students that work hard, and many of them are working hard in places where it's a little crowded around the edges, and they're making do and making it happen and not letting it affect what they're doing in the classroom, be it a building that might need a little refreshing. Good education is going on within those walls. So and I will echo your comment about people, if you have not got your ballot in, you have until have it postmarked by tomorrow. There are drop-off boxes. I know Redmond has one. I don't believe any other city locally has a drop-off box, as I recall. But otherwise, it needs to be postmarked. So, and there's lots of information on the website for people, if they haven't looked yet, to get information before they make their decision. Okay. Anything else from legislation at this point in time? It's quiet other than tomorrow's ballot and the upcoming election come November. Interesting things going on there. Any board follow-up? Anything for future agenda items or debriefing from anyone?
For future, I would like to see us investigate the idea of having a program similar to the bullying program for inclusion. I think we have a great policy for inclusion. I think where we miss the boat is the implementation sometimes. I think there's some great programs and some great examples around the system, but I think there's a lot more kids that could benefit from a lot of the programs. The Lunch Buddies program they talked about here, I think that is always a nice social entree to inclusion, and I think it's one of the things that often gets missed, especially in the upper grades. So I would like for us to take a look at an inclusion program, and I'll be more than happy to share some ideas with everyone in the next week or so.
Great. Sounds good. Anybody have anything else on that? Okay. Board member comments? Since our last meeting in early March, the board did have a two-day, I guess if you put Friday night, all day Saturday, and half-day Sunday together, plus traveling, so 2.5. It's actually 3 days because you had to travel too, and so Friday was gone, where we gathered to have our extended work session and spent a lot of time in good conversation on what we were talking about tonight, on ends results and how that reporting is going to be done in the future and how to make it more meaningful. And Tracy touched on some of the things that we talked about doing and how that reporting will be coming out. We also spent some time talking about communications and how we can continue to be better at what we do and broader about what we do and improve what we do. And I'm always amazed when people say, gee, I didn't know that, you know. So you just think you do it, but they don't all hear it. We talked, beginning talk about budget. That's coming up next is our big topic of conversation of resources and where they go and the things that they need to be for, and continue to talk a little bit about facilities and impacts that would happen either if we don't have a bond passage and if we do. So those were some important topics that we spent that time, but good conversations and good thoughts and ideas, I think, that came from all board members and staff, so good weekend. Kind of talked about, just a thought thing, we're always thinking of what to call this that we do, that is, you know, it's not a retreat, it's a work session, whatever, and comment of, do we change work session to something else? Cities often use a study session versus the word work. And so just thinking about, do we want to relabel what we do, because we really aren't working, we're not making decisions at those. They are time for us to learn and discuss, so might come up with some words that you might like better. better reflect, I think, the work that we, or the job of what we're doing during that time and what we use of that time. So that's all for me from board comments. Anything else from anybody else? Okay, we are not adjourning because we're going to go to a executive session. So I will recess us from here to go into there. I need a piece of paper that says